Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully, you can hear me okay. And it's nice and bright out here. The sun's shining right in my eyes. Got my couple of lights on here at my 45s, and I've been mosquito free for the past 20 minutes. And then right before I went live, they started nibbling on me. They see me and they're like, it's a buffet, it's a ham buffet. So, thanks everybody for tuning in. I got the Winston hat. One of my Winston hats from 3 or 4 times, I believe it was. And I also got something to show you. I'll zoom in here pretty soon. But first, I want to make my introduction. My name is David Hamm, 25-year NASCAR engine builder, 7-year Jackman, 4-time All-Star Jackman, as in the All-Star race at Charlotte. Owner of Hammscapes landscaping business and equipment repair, autos, and all these things like that. It seemed like it was dark behind me, but I got my dogs out here with me. Charlie was sitting in the chair being co-pilot. So I'm going to have to read y'all's questions and such on my own today because Tracy's at work and it's just me and the pups. So it looks like Terry Quinn made it okay through all the tornadoes and things they had going on out there. But I'm going to say hey to Terry, Rachel, Linda, Jinx, Tom Robinson, Scott Trevison down in Florida. Tom's in Indiana. Terry's in Oklahoma. Rachel's in Charlotte. Where's anybody else from? And if you join in, tell me where you're listening from, watching from. My mom here from Hammscapes. Mom's in the house watching me live. Hello, Mother. And I'd really like to be where Scott's at right now, down in Florida somewhere or another. But I'm going to show you my ring before we get started. Trying to see if it's zoomed in good. There we go. That is a 2018 Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series ring, won by Mr. Joey Logano, 2018 champion. How cool is that? And then, like I said, this is one of my All-Star hats from back in the day. As Scott used to say, 3-time All-Star Jackman David Hamm. And then I got to thinking today, that might have been around 1998 when he said that, because I ended up being Jackman for Sterling in 99 also, and part of 2000. Anyway, that's a classic hat right there. Thanks, everybody. Glad you like my ring. That's number 12 for me. So that being said, I don't know if everybody's heard, but I think most of you heard. I announced it on the radio last Thursday night that I am officially retiring from NASCAR after 25 years. I'm hanging it up. So my main reason for doing it is because I want to take care of my dad who has Alzheimer's. So I'm going to stay and spend more time with him, spend more time with my mother. My parents are getting older, and I want to be able to be here with them. And I've got enough business to keep myself busy because I don't believe I'll ever really retire. But it'll just keep me from having to leave and go drive to Mooresville. I guess you could say I've loved the sport. I've loved NASCAR. I still do. It was a time where I really, my job was my life. But, as you get older, things start to change a little bit. You start shifting your priorities, and that's kind of where I'm at with that. So I'm excited. It's a big step in my life, but, sometimes you have to do those things in life, and life's about change. Everybody make changes, and I'm going to take the ball and run with it, so to speak. So, like I said, I'm pretty excited about it. And thanks, Paul. I'm glad you stuck around. Paul Rodriguez, who's also down in Florida, I believe. I'm glad you decided not to go to the Home Depot tonight. Decided to join in with us. Yes, thank you, Rachel. She says, congratulations on a fantastic career in NASCAR. Thank you for all you did for the sport. And you know what? I'll continue. And thank you for that. I'll continue to do as much as I can because I think NASCAR's coming back. I think the stands are starting to get packed once again. And, you know, I'd really like to go back to a race. You know, maybe when Scott gets back, we can hook up and go to some of the races, maybe even do some camping, you know, meet and greet with some of the fans out there. Cause that's one of the things I would love to do is go, you know, go around in the infield. NASCAR fans are the best fans of any sport in the world. I always had a good time walking through the outfield and interacting with people. And so, as a matter of fact, I have a story to tell about that. I'll tell you that story here in just a little bit. But Tom Robinson says, "Hey, Els, you think you can get me a set of headers for you leave?" uh, inside joke, killing me, Tom. All right. So anyhow, thanks for that. Yeah, I heard there was a good amount of fans there at the All Star this weekend, so that's pretty cool. They were talking about that at work today. Oh, and by the way, I finally got a haircut. I'm sure Tracy will be happy. Of course, she liked my hair being long, but you know, I did that play, the Tom Dooley project. Here it is, right here. Did the old Tom Dooley project, and as you can see in the picture, my hair is, you can kind of tell it's a baller hat. And my hair was pretty long. That was from last year, so I just went back into character this year and had the sideburns and all that. And so that was like 2 weeks ago that ended, and I hate getting a haircut. The reason I hate getting a haircut is because I have to sit still. I have to sit there, and I'm at the mercy of someone else doing their chop, 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 chop. And if it takes longer than 15 minutes, I'm impatient. I'm polite. I'm nice, but when I say I'm impatient, it just means that I'm like fidgety and I'm ready to get up and go do something. Anyway, hey, there's Chad Hyder. Chad, you're in Virginia, I believe. Good to see you on there. And Linda Jinks. Linda's in Pennsylvania, I believe. Yeah, come to Pocono and July, meet me and Paul. You know what, Linda, that is tempting because Tracy has been talking about going to the Pocono Mountains. So we might have to work that in. Pocono is one of my favorite tracks. I used to love going there. There's so many. Dayton, Ohio. Chad. There's so many race fans up there. I mean, like they're very passionate about the sport. Like they love to meet. They come down to the infield. They walk up and down pit road, talk to all the crew members and stuff. That was one of the most fan-friendly tracks. Pocono was. Paul says, "Do you think it would be a good idea to get a 3.5 liter EcoBoost from Roush Yates to replace the stock one in my truck?" Sure. I think if you got, I don't know how much that would cost. Maybe a couple $100,000, maybe. Yeah, if you got that money, I'll bet you Mr. Yates would be glad to hook you right up. Thank you, Scott. Congrats on your retirement. And to you. Of course, it's been years since you retired from NASCAR. But I'm looking forward to spending more time with my buddy Beer Man if he'll ever stay home. All right. So anyway, we'll get into the deal here. We had the All-Star race this past weekend. And I guess you probably saw 2 weeks ago that we had a winner in the Ford camp with who won the race? Brad Keselowski? Is that who it was? Yes. After Kansas. I'm sorry. He won at Kansas. I was reading something. So, you know what? I guess I could run through the finishing order of that race right quick. Brad Keselowski was the winner. Alex Bowman second. Eric Jones third. Chase Elliott, Clint Boyer, Jimmy Johnson, Kurt Busch, Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, and Chris Buescher, who had a good run in that race. I'm not going to spend too much time with the Kansas race. I just wanted to mention it because it is very exciting that Brad Keselowski won. And that was his third win of the 2019 and his 30th Cup career win, which is a very impressive milestone to reach. There were 23 lead changes between 12 drivers, 7 cautions for 41 laps. And that's about that for Kansas. Kansas is a wrap. It's in the history books, as they say. The point standings after Kansas, and I say this because the All-Star race, it was not a points race. So we're still stuck in the same points that we had after Kansas going into the 600 at Charlotte. So that was the point standings after Kansas is Joey Logano. Very good. He took it from Kyle Busch. Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex, Kurt Busch, Clint Boyer, Ryan Blaney, Eric Almirola, Alex Bowman, Daniel Suarez, Eric Jones, Kyle Larson, and Jimmy Johnson. Rounding out, what is that, 12, something like that. So yeah, it looks like there's a bunch of Fords up there in the top 12. All right. So now back to the other thing. I've had this cold all week, and then being out here in the South in the summertime when the humidity, and then you go into air condition and all that stuff, and not to mention all the grass I've been mowing with homes here lately. Yeah, you can kind of see my hat. This hat I got Joey to sign last time he was in. Yes, I'm with you, Tom. Chad says Blaney, and Linda says go, yay, Joey. Yep, back to the lead. And then Tom says, I'll take any Ford. That's right. Okay, so the weekend was the 35th running of the All-Star race, and it was at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And of course, like I said, it was a non-points event. Does anybody know? I'll just ask a quiz question. Who won the inaugural race? And what year? Maybe I can tell you what year it was. That might give you a little bit of hint. So the inaugural year for the All-Star race was 1985. I believe my very first All-Star race that I went to would have been around, I believe it was 89 or 90, because I used to actually get tickets when I worked at the dealership. I would get tickets to a lot of the races. I'd get to Darlington, Rockingham, and Charlotte. But back then, for the big races, I actually had to buy my own tickets until I got into the sport in '94. But I'll tell you here in a little bit. I'll tell you a story about the last day race, which would have been in '91, and then the first night race, which had been in '92. I got a little story to tell you on that. So Charlotte has played host to the All-Star event every year except 1986 when it was moved to Atlanta for some reason. And Bill Elliott won after leading 82 of 83 laps. Imagine that. Bill Elliott, his home state, beating Dale Earnhardt Sr. by nearly 3 seconds and taking home $240,000. I guess we all know how much Larson took home. The big million, which I think was, I was going to say, I guess it wasn't a million on the hat there. I thought it was. George, all right. You're going to be stuck in the Bahamas for a while, Scott. George is leaving tomorrow because of some storms. We're going to be stuck in Bahamas for a while. What? Man, see, should have took me with you there, beer man. I'd be stuck in the Bahamas. I don't know if that's really a problem, is it? All right, the 1992 All-Star race was ran for the first time under the lights. It was won by Davey Allison, and he was unable to celebrate in victory lane as he was taken to the hospital after being caught in a last lap wreck with Kyle Petty. Davey hit the wall as the two cars came together as they crossed the finish line. And I remember that very well. I was sitting on the back stretch. I was sitting on the top row in the back stretch, and I remember seeing that hood go flying up in the air over there in turn one. We were talking about this on the sports show the other night, last week on the WAME Sports Recap show, and Moose was saying he was sitting over there in turn one, and so he got front row seat to it. But I'll never forget that hood flying up to the air. And I had my dad with me. I had two of my old neighbor friends, and after the race, we went walking down through the outfield, and we had quite a few drinks that night, and then we turned around and looked, and I was like, where's my dad? My dad had done disappeared. And finally, I ended up going and finding him, hanging out with some other campers and drinking some more beer with some campers. That's why I say I had the most fun with the race fans before I got into NASCAR and even after I got in NASCAR, So And 1984, Jeff Brown became the first owner driver to win the All-Star race. So 1994. All right, so 1980 driver to win after being transferred over from the preliminary qualifying race. So that night, 1996, I'm sure Beer Man that remembers that night pretty well too. And I actually had some stuff written down here because I don't want to forget anything. But I took my mom and dad to the 1996 All-Star race, and I was Jackman for Kyle Petty then, and we finished in 11th spot. So after the race, we went up to go up to Felix Sabatis's. He had a suite up there. It was like upstairs and a downstairs, and the top level was overlooking the whole track around turn one. And we got on the elevator. My dad was a Michael Waltrip fan. He was a Darrell Waltrip fan, of course. And we get on the elevator, and there's Michael Waltrip. He had just won the All-Star race. Excuse me. And so we get on the elevator. So that was like my dad's meeting Michael Waltrip, talking to him, you know. So that was a big treat for him. So we get up the stairs, and we go and sit down, and we're just kind of hanging out. Watching, I don't even remember what was going on the track. If anything, I guess it was after the All-Star race, so nothing. But Richard Petty's was next door. So my mom's sitting here in a chair, and we're like eating and drinking and stuff. And then here comes Richard Petty, starts massaging my mom's shoulders. And so mom's just sitting there kind of like, and she's just like, she was so excited that Richard Petty was massaging her shoulders. So she still talks about that today. And Mom, if you're still watching, you remember that, you can say something about that. And so my parents said at that point, they said, you know what, if we don't ever go back to another race, then we're complete. And I ended up taking them back. At least my dad went back with me several times. He went to Wilkesboro that year and with me in '96, which was last year. He went to Rockingham, different places with me throughout the years, actually. So those are all good times, you know. Good times, and with having a lot of fun in the NASCAR circuit, and it was never a dull moment. I can tell you that. So the open winners for the All-Star race, okay, so back to the 2000, Dale Earnhardt Jr. won, making it the only time that a father-son duo has won the event, as Dale Sr. had won in 1987. So that being said, Dale Sr. won in '87, and then Dale Jr. won in 2000. So I guess no other father-son has won that race. I'm trying to think if there would have been any. You know, I guess if Chase Elliott wins it someday, then you could say his father-son won, because since Bill Elliott's won, obviously. 2004, the fans were allowed to vote in a driver, as it was Ken Schrader who finished 13th, and Matt Kenseth won, which was driving for us at the time. And I was there for that race, actually, 2004. 2017, Kyle Busch became the 23rd different driver to win the All-Star event. The latest winner, Kevin Harvick. All right. And in the first All-Star race, Darrell Waltrip won. Okay, was that the quiz question? Yes. I was asking you to quiz. Who won the first All-Star race, since I just said the answer. He won $200,000 in 1985. And in 2018, Kevin Harvick won $1 million. Sorry, I had to get something to drink. Said it's been tough with this cold. This is something that never happened to me, but last week I had to miss a day of work because I was I had the body aches, the chills, I was shut down. I don't know if it's from working so hard the week before. We're doing all of my landscaping and everything else, but anyway, it is what it is. But I survived. It's just one of those things where it's moved from that to from my sinuses down into my lungs. But so the All-Star race, the open winners the other night were, and I only caught part of one of the segments. The open winners were. I'm gonna tell you this right quick. I went to the open when, excuse me, gosh, whenever Excuse me, I'm sorry. Sterling Marlin won. I went down and talked to Sterling. I'm trying to remember what year that was. I guess it would have been probably 2005, 6, 7, somewhere around there. And I went down and saw Sterling at the starting grid, and he had raced his way in. He won the Open, and then he ended up. I think he ended up going on and winning the thing that night. But I sat up there in turn one. So yeah, the All Star race has always been one of my favorite races to go to. If y'all got any questions, throw them on here because I'm ready. I'm just going to keep going through this rundown. But the Open winners, the William Byron won the first segment. Bubba Wallace won the second segment. And if you saw that, I thought that was a really exciting ending there to that second segment because it was Suarez. And as Scott would say, that's amazing. 41 Suarez, that battle at the finish there when Suarez ended up finishing the line, turned sideways because he was, it almost looked like he was trying to keep Bubba from winning it, and Bubba was looking pretty strong. I think Bubba's on a mission, apparently. So Bubba ended up winning it, and then Kyle Larson ended up winning segment 3. Alex Bowman was voted in by the fans. All right, so the All-Star starting grid was, we won't go through all that. Clint Boyer, Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, the rest of the field, you know. The All-Star segment winners. The first segment was won by Kyle Busch. The second segment by Kevin Harvick. He was looking very strong, and I thought for a while there that he was going to be the car. He was going to be the guy to beat, and of course so did Kyle Busch. He looked really strong. And then Joey Logano, of course. Joey seems to be running strong everywhere, which is, you know, maybe he'll win the championship again. I'll tell you a story about that in just a second. And then Kyle Larson ended up winning the final. But when Kyle got out front, I was like, he's not going to stay there. But guess what? He ended up staying there. So when Joey came in, I don't know if you saw my picture, the picture of me hold my ring up with Joey in front of the car or beside the 22 Pennzoil car. When he came into the shop last week, Thursday we had a big fish fry. It was like a big banquet, and Todd Gordon was supposed to be there, but he didn't end up coming. But Joey he was actually there with a Mustang car. So he said, this isn't actually the championship car, because this is a Mustang. But he said, this is the 2019 championship car. So he said, we'll just go ahead and get this car up in here ahead of time. So I thought that was pretty cool. All right. And then one of the things, so the finish was Kyle Larson, Kevin Harvick, Kyle Busch third, Joey Logano fourth, Bubba Wallace fifth, Eric Almirola, Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman, William Byron, Martin Truex, Brad Keselowski, Clint Boyer. Keep hearing something over there. Ryan Newman, Chase Elliott, Jimmy Johnson, Ryan Blaney, Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin, and Eric Jones for the top for the All-Star finish. And then at the very end of the race, actually, you know, they were showing Kyle Larson, and then all of a sudden they switched the camera over, and you see someone doing this right here into the window of Ryan Newman's car, and I was like, what is going on over there? And it turns out it was Clint Boyer over there practicing some boxing or showing off his new boxing moves or something. So, you know, I was like, what the heck is he doing? I don't like to see anybody fight. But whenever I saw what happened, I guess I kind of understood because he got spun out, you know, by Ryan Newman and ended up damaging his car. So, you know, in the heat of the moment, I'm sure they both had their reasons for doing what they did. But you know what? I think it's kind of cool because I haven't heard of any fines, and hopefully NASCAR doesn't say you're fined $50,000 for throwing punches or anything. You know what? Gloves off. Let them do it, because I think, you know, how many times have you seen that headline, and people that don't even watch NASCAR have seen that headline. I mean, have seen that video clip, and they're like, "Oh man, that NASCAR must be some cool stuff." So all right, no fines given. Thank you, Terry. I was hoping that that was going to be the case because they really don't need to. NASCAR needs to loosen up and let the gloves off, like I said. And thank you, Linda. Yes, we don't need to be putting a muzzle on the drivers. I mean, and NASCAR has this thing where they'll say um, uh, incident or I can't remember the verbiage they use, but it's something detrimental to the sport of NASCAR. But you know what? They need to look at it like it's not really detrimental to the sport because if it brings the media attention, if you get the media's attention, then you're going to get more fans. I do believe. So uh, yeah, I was talking about the 3-time All-Star Jackman. I mentioned that because whenever Scott used to do the old pit tours showing people down to the pit area, he would always come up there and say, "This is David Hamm, a 3-time All-Star Jackman." Like I said, that was probably around 1997, and then I ended up being another one in 1998 with Sterling Marlin. And back then, we used to do the pit stops. We would have a qualifying pit stops, and the car had to come to a stop. So I would basically jump off the back after the car stopped. Typically I was the first one off the pit wall, and then by the time I turned around, the car was stopped where it needed to be usually. But in the case of the All Star, somebody sent me some really cool pictures one time from the stands. But it was really neat because it was like back then, the stands were completely packed full, and it was like you felt like everybody in the world's watching you do a pit stop. Because they were doing one pit stop at a time, one lap, and that was a big time because it's like really neat because there goes the car and it's and then it's like here he comes down pit road, get ready for your stop, comes to a screeching halt. Now you're like it's on, everybody's watching, jump off pit wall, run, jack the car up, go around the other side, jack that side up. As soon as he's done, drop it, and then take off out of the pits. I don't know, it's just something about that. And then you look up and the whole stands, everybody's like cheering and all because they thought it was really cool. Yeah, that was good stuff. Scott says the beer man's number 42 jinx is over. Well, you know what it is, Scott? You probably because you went down there and made amends and introduced yourself to Larson and said, "Hey, I'm the beer man. I'm the original beer man with that 42 car." So that did it. The Jinx and the Red Sox ended up winning the World Series. That's what happened right there, beer man. So Rachel says definitely it seemed like NASCAR was a lot more fun when it was less rules and protocol, more about racing and having a great time. Yes, it was. And then Terry said, I'd rather they fist fight than wreck each other in the cars and risk hurting themselves or their drivers, crews, and fans. Very good point. So, that's the thing. NASCAR can say, hey, park your car and get out and go fight all you want. So, let's see, Jimmy. This is on a side note, and then we'll talk a little bit about the 600 race coming up. But Jimmy Johnson says the reality is he doesn't have 5 years left in him, let alone 10 years. His contract with Hendrick Motorsports runs out in 2020. He and Rick will discuss things. He doesn't have as much runway as he used to in going after championship 8 and 9, getting wins. It's from NASCAR.com video. So here we are going into the 600, and I don't know if it's called the World 600 or the Coca-Cola. I think it's the Coca-Cola 600, most likely. But all right, let me read this question right quick. Get some peppermint plants, David told Tracy before. Yeah, I'm telling you what, mosquitoes are starting to tear me alive. They see Hamm buffet, and And then Paul Rodriguez says, "Do you remember when Sterling Marlin had the Chevy that sounded like an Indy car?" I do remember that very well, and that was the 4 car when he drove, and Runt Pittman was his engine builder, the Kodak. And I believe, you know, I don't know, the statute of limitations is up on that, I guess, by now. But yeah, they used to do some stuff different to the engines, some different stuff with the cam, and they actually end up having, yeah, maybe I shouldn't say, but they almost had like a big air pump, not an accessory on the engine, but they did some things to their engine that made them not exactly legal. But hey, you know what? That's the way it goes. That car was always really fast. All right, so going on to the Coca-Cola 600 or whatever it is, World 600. Yeah, I need to get some of that pineapple juice too for my cough. I keep forgetting. All right, Charlotte 600 tracks facts. The track was designed by Bruton Smith and driver Curtis Turner. Y'all remember Curtis Turner back in the day? It was built in 1959. This is some unsweetened tea, by the way. Construction cost $1.25 million. The land that the Charlotte Motor Speedway now occupies was the site of a working plantation during the Civil War. The length is 1.5 miles quad oval. And back to the history of the Charlotte Motor Speedway, I remember being told that I've heard 2 different things. One person said it was used to be a volcano. That's what somebody told me. But another person that supposedly was a geologist said that it used to be, there was a site of a meteor hit, like millions of years ago, because you can still see the splatter up in this area and all around. You'll see these big rocks stacked up on the side of the road. And even on where my buddy Jim built his house, he is on a rock. It was supposed to be splatter for when the meteor hit over in that area, and it made a big whatever you call it, crater. And that was where the speedway is. I don't know, but there is a landfill there too, by the way. I mean, it's back behind it, and it's turned into sort of like a mountain back there. All right, so the length is 1.5 miles quad oval, which means it has that dog leg in it too. The banking's 24 degrees, turns 5 degrees straight. Front stretch is 1,980 feet. Back stretch is 1,500 feet. Owned and operated by Speedway Motorsports Incorporated. The capacity is $171,000. And yes, Scott, that's the one hot night, 1992, Winston. I've still got my collectibles from that night, and that was I'd say that was the best Winston race that I've ever been to, and that was when I was sitting on the top of the back stretch. Whenever I remember seeing that hood go flying up in the air, whenever Davey and Kyle got into the wreck. All right, so the first World 600 was held in June 19, 1960, and was won by Joe Lee Johnson with the average speed of 107.735. In 1992, $1.7 million was spent to light the track. I remember that. Those lights were pretty awesome. To light the track, and I was like, how are they going to light this track? How are they going to light the yeah, so they had the mirrors down there that would reflect the light down onto the track and stuff. So excuse me. 2018 Charlotte Motor Speedway road course, aka the Roval, was host to both the Monster Energy Cup Series and the Xfinity races. 2.8 mile course is contained with 1.5 mile. Do y'all remember who won that race? And I remember because I actually built the engine. Not that it matters, but I'm just saying I remember it very well because the guy that I had built the engine for at the time was running in 3rd place, and then there was a wreck on the last, whatever you call it. Track record set by Kurt Busch, qualified October 9th, 2014, a speed of 198 mile an hour. The latest winner of the Coke 600 is Kyle Busch. All right. How about that? Scott Trevison says they used yeah, that's right. Their brain totally matters. You you know, I guess someday I'll look back and I'll be like, you know what, I used to do that and it was kind of cool, you know, hit these different little milestones and different engines that were built that I had my hands on, I guess you could say. You know, back in the day it used to be more when when building an engine that I don't know. Things have changed over the years, but you know what, it's still cool. So I was trying to figure out what Scott was saying they used to 180 manifold, but yeah, we could get into some pretty technical stuff about some of the things that some of the teams have done in NASCAR over the years, engine wise. But you know, I could tell you for one thing's for sure, and you could take this to the bank, and I'd put my hand on the Bible and say, dude, one thing I have never ever seen at rail shades engines is cheating. I mean, that is God's honest truth. Because you know what? We don't really need to. It's a long history of dominating and let's say beating the competition by, um, I guess, I don't know if it's outworking or just outsmarting. I don't know. It's hard to say, but you know, back in the day, you got the legendary Robert Yates. So you know, Doug Yates has that reputation to hold up to, um, and it's big shoes to fill. But he's done an excellent job at it, obviously, and he's surrounded himself with the right people to always keep the horsepower going. And I would say they'll continue on. You know, even as I leave, they'll continue on, and they'll keep making the horsepower, and I'll still be pulling for them. You know, so Rachel's asking me what we missed most about working at Yates. I think that um, Scott, I'm not going to read what you said there. That's funny though. But yeah, Rachel, good old fashioned hard work. And then Terry says, and that's why I'm a Ford RE fan forever. No cheating. That's right. So what will I miss the most about working at Yates? Probably, well, without a doubt, I'll miss the guys. You know, because I've made some of the best friends that I've ever had in my life. Um, Doug Yates has done an excellent job at creating a place to work that has people there that are positive. Um, People that you want to be associated with, you know, really people that are great friends that are support and they got your back, you know. And there's been times where, you know, some people come in, you know, who give them a chance and they don't work out. But you know what? It's because they don't fit. They don't fit. They don't have the winning attitude. They don't have, you know, it's not the right combination. So um, that's going to be the biggest thing. You know, and I'm gonna miss a little bit of the, you know, having that. I'm a competitive kind of person, so I'll miss having that outlet for, you know, winning races. You know, it's always a good feeling. It's a lot better feeling to go to work on Monday when we won a race. Um, you know, so maybe I'll maybe I'll be out here racing on my zero turn mowers or something. I don't know. So you can get the yard mowed the quickest. I'll have to figure out a way to what's going to be my next outlet for competitiveness. I'm thinking actually, you know what? Like you see this tractor here, you see this tractor over here, and this one here, that Jeep over here. You know, I might have to put some more horsepower in those and get out here and run them. Maybe do some tractor pulls or something like that. So yeah, I might have to get into some of that stuff. Right. Terry says, how many engines have you built? You know what? That is a good question, and I wish I knew the answer. For years, I kept up. Every year, I was keeping up with the engines I was building. But uh, yeah, and it's you figure over 25 years. I mean, for about 22 of those years, I was doing machine work, or I'd say 22. For about 2 or 3 of those years, I was doing machine. I was machining. Then when I went to Bill Davis, I was back to being a machinist and an assembler. So, you know, some of those years I wasn't building as many race engines, but Shoot, if I had to guess over 25 years, probably talking, I don't know, 1,000 engines or so. It's hard to say really. I sit down and add that up sometime. Uh, and yeah, Paul says bring donuts on winning Mondays to go see the guys. Yeah. Um, and Terry says be like Biffle and have your own dirt track. But yeah, Paul, I was thinking about going. Maybe they'll come in and sing happy birthday every month, whenever we have, because I do that now. I play my harmonica, sing happy birthday. And, maybe they'll have me come back in and do that. Who knows? And then, I don't know, Terry, I've had a dirt track before in the neighborhood and I had a good time with it, but I don't know. I think my racing days doing crazy things like that are over. I race go-karts. I ran four-wheelers, and I'm thinking more like golf carts now, So I go in every week and do the old happy birthday. So it's like, but so I saw Joey Leon was there the other day, and his girlfriend his wife Brittany, and they had their son. So Joey comes in, or she showed up a little bit later, and so Joey goes over and picks his son up. So then I'm like, hey, all kids love harmonicas. So I go over and I go, and so I saw no reaction. Everybody's just kind of looking at me, sorry. No reaction. So Doug Gates is standing here and he pats me on the back and he said, that's okay, Hamm. That's the same reaction we have whenever you play that for us. So I was like, okay, thanks, pal. Anyway, I like to think that the kid liked it. But I was telling him, we have sometimes there's kids that have like um, what is it? I don't know, Down syndrome or different things like that. Whenever I get around them and I play my harmonica, it's just like they just light up. They love it, So that makes me happy. Makes me happy to see that. So I think that Joey's son was probably just half asleep at that point. Yeah, Rachel says he was just in awe. Yeah, it was kind of funny. I was a little embarrassed, but I was like, you know what? It's all good because I could see other people smiling, laughing, and that's why I say I sacrifice my silliness to make other people laugh, and so be it. That's kind of what I do with my whole Chillbillies thing, anyway. So, but stay tuned for all my Chillbilliness. I'm on the radio every Friday from 4 to 6. We had a girl named Emmy Sunshine in last Friday. I'm gonna tell you something. I was so impressed. The girl, she's 14 years old. She travels with her mom and dad, and her mom writes a lot of songs for her. But she travels with her brother. He plays the mandolin. Her dad plays the bass, stand-up bass. And man, she was so good. She reminded me of she had a voice like Dolly Parton. She did a lot of that vibrato stuff, kind of like Tanya Tucker. And I asked her if she would play Delta Dawn, and she sang that song. But the girl's going somewhere. She's been on the show, Little Big Shots or whatever it is with Steve Harvey. She's played at the Grand Ole Opry more than a dozen times. Tom at Robinson actually said he'd seen her at the Grand Ole Opry before. But we get people in the studio, WAME 92.9 and 550 AM, playing these. We get some really good artists come through, and it's really cool to get to meet some people. I enjoy it. That's something else that I'm going to keep doing. So, y'all stay tuned, and I'll do every other Thursday night. I'll do the sports recap show. I talk for about 15 minutes. We talk about NASCAR, 15, 20 minutes, and those guys crack me up. They have a good time in that. So, it's all about trying to reconnect with the race fans and trying, maybe that's what I need to do now. And that'll kind of feed my competitive spirit is to, talk about Ford and our NASCAR fans, keep in touch with everybody. Um, Paul says, when you play, you can't see the harmonica. He might have thought the sound came out of your hands. Maybe that's what it was. It was kind of like, how's he doing that? You know, because I do get that reaction a lot of times from kids. And then whenever I hold out to them, I'm like, hey, do you want to play this? And they're like, yeah. All right. So here, I got Joey to sign my Jostens case. You know, so that's something I'll hang on to from now on. Put my ring in there. But yeah, like I said, that's number 12. So there you have it. But anyway, if y'all would click like on this video, if you get time, maybe share it, get more people involved. We can get more people watching these videos, get more fans tuning in. And if you got any questions, go on and make your comment after the video is over, because I get notifications on here. I'll get notifications and I can go and answer any questions you want, as long as it's not too technical. Yeah, I'm getting out of NASCAR, but I still have to. I'm still going to be careful about being too technical, because I would really like for the Ford group to still kick some butt and win another championship. So I'm not going to give away any of the secrets, because those are all my friends. So that's from Jostens, but I'm not sure where exactly it's from, Paul. And thank you, Chad. Yeah, Tom, thank you. 12 rings is impressive. When I started, I really never even thought about the rings. Oh, thank you, Terry. Hamm is the Richard Petty of Crew Guys Engine Builder. Very fan friendly. Thank you so much. Rachel says that would help NASCAR tremendously. Know you care and see how when I reach out to them. Yep. And Paul, yeah. So, and then Tom says, you're not going to convert back to Chevys, are you? No, sir. I'd say I'll bleed forward blue at this point. So there's no converting back to Chevys, which is my past life, I guess you could say. When I first started in NASCAR, here's the deal. I set my goal around 1992. I decided I wanted to get into NASCAR. That was 1989 when I was working in food service. I decided I'm going to go into college. I'm going to learn how to work on cars, and then I'm going to get into NASCAR. And that was my goal, and that's what I did. So the moral of that story is, it don't matter how old you are, if you have a goal and you have something you want to do, you set your goal and go for it. And what I did was, I guess you could say, I was eating, breathing, sleeping. I was reading everything that I could about NASCAR. I knew, it's funny how I got to know a lot of the crew chiefs and team owners and all that stuff throughout the years, but I knew them long before they knew me, because that was my passion. I read Stock Car Magazine, I read Circle Cat Magazine. I would be at the dealership working on cars. I'd take my break, I'd sit down and read my magazines. And then my goal was to be a jack man. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I wanted to be in NASCAR. I got an interview. As soon as I got my foot in the door, I started going to practice. I was hitting the weights religiously every morning. I get to the gym about 5 o'clock before work. So then I would work out when I got into racing. So, that's what I wanted to do. And another thing, and this is something I truly believe in. I've been telling Tracy a little bit about it lately, and that's your subconscious mind. I know this is going to sound ridiculous to some people, but I'm telling you, if you go to your subconscious mind before you go to sleep at night, let's say something you're really interested in, something you want to learn, everything you can, read about it before you go to sleep. And then when you wake up in the morning, you'll feel like you know that much more about something, because as long as it's not something stressful. Now, if you're going to get into forensic, uh, I wouldn't suggest reading anything doom and gloom before you go to sleep, but all positive stuff. Whatever your goal is, whatever your dream is, read about it before you go to bed. And then, hey, if you feel inspired, read about it when you wake up in the morning. It's amazing how much you can learn. So anyway, that's one of the things that, and when I went through college, I basically aced. I finished top of my class. I got the Good Wrench Award because it was through a General Motors program. And so anyway, that being said, thank y'all so much for tuning in. It's been, oh my gosh, it's almost been an hour. I didn't have Tracy here to say, all right, hey, Dave, let's wrap it up. So, but it's been really fun. I know this one went a little bit longer, probably because I was talking a lot more about myself and my retirement and that kind of stuff. But I'm really excited about it. You know, I'm still going to be pulling for my Ford friends, Roush Yates engines. I'll be a special spot in my heart, and you know, we're still going to be doing this show, and it'll actually give me more time to devote to doing it. You know, I can start earlier on Monday preparing, and then that way I don't have to get a late start or anything, you know, because I'll be here set up and ready to go. And also, I'm going to try going from different locations, you know, not just here in the Beer Man Cave and my car. Maybe I'll go to downtown Statesville. Maybe I'll go over to Charlotte Motor Speedway. Who knows? I'm going to try different locations. So anyway, if you would click like on this video and hit that subscribe button, because every Monday night at 7:30 we're going to be talking NASCAR. And so thanks everybody so much for tuning in, and we will see y'all next time.